Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's the Competitive Team Championship YouTube channel. CTC is back. It's bigger, it's better, it's stronger than ever. And I can't wait to get this back underway now. Tier 1 already live over on Twitch. So if you want to see how they are getting on, head over to twitch.tv/CT Championship. But this is me. My name is Alex the G. I am today going to cover Tier 2 for you. Of course, two tiers now, 10 teams each are going to be fighting it out for the championship trophy. It is going to be two tiers, four stages, which the teams will be competing in, but only one team per division can be crowned the champion. And I can't wait to get this underway. We've got 7 new teams in this second tier now, 3 of which are still returning from the last season, as they have raced and taken part in all the events. And unfortunately, one of them has dropped out at late notice, that being the CRD team. Big shame, unfortunately, of course. One less team on the grid. We'll be having 18 drivers here tonight in this Tier 2 lobby. But I'm sure this second division is still going to deliver some very, very good racing. It's the Albert Park Street Circuit in Australia, in Melbourne. And yeah, if last season anything to go by, we are in for a very, very good racing spectacle. And yeah, of course, CTC not having a full calendar published. It is racing in stages. Obviously, this new innovative calendar format last season, it was more in the geographical standpoints where these were all decided. Now, we've decided to go for a bit more of a metaphorical take, if you will. Stage 1 is made up of the Ace's name, which I find extremely interesting. It's a lovely play on words here on the starting letters of our 3 venues. Of course, we are heading to Australia, round 1. We are then continuing on next week at the Austrian Grand Prix in Spielberg, and then the Azerbaijan Grand Prix to finish this first stage. And yeah, which team can ace the season in CTC, and who has a hidden card up their sleeve? I can't wait to find out, as the first race will be getting underway very shortly. We will be talking about the lineups fairly soon as well. Unfortunately, as I said, the CRD team have dropped out very late on, which is a big shame, of course, to see 2 less drivers on this grid today. But I'm sure they will be back stronger and starting their season fresh in Austria. Also, of course, the new car allocations, we'll have to have a look at those. But yeah, let's have a look just quickly. I have to sort myself out here due to the fact I was not usually scheduled to do Tier 2 commentary. I was usually supposed to be on Tier 1, but due to some rather complicated internet problems, it was better for us to put me into Tier 2 on my own, because we knew that was going to work out, and I'm sure you will enjoy this coverage. As yeah, this leads me on very nicely to the team lineups that we have got for tonight. Of course, we have the Mercedes team filling out with one new arrival already. It is the VRA team, Virtual Racing Association, a French team, as we have Casanova there as the first main driver, and the second man being Chupi, in fact, being a reserve, replacing not Sinai at fairly late notice. So these two will be raising the flag in that Mercedes car, and will be racing for the VRA team. VRT are strong as well there, with Max Power and Pokeral being their drivers. Max Power also being a reserve, replacing Tails from Brazil. I believe he is the Brazilian driver. Cannot make it to the session, and therefore Max Power will be that second driver in the Red Bull. In the Ferrari, we have a lineup which I don't believe to be 100% correct. As let's have a look quickly here. Yeah, perhaps some. Yeah, one of the drivers is actually in the wrong car, so hopefully that'll be figured out very shortly. But let me quickly check this. Yeah, it's supposed to be the As1 Esports team in that Ferrari, and Benelari Brent, for whatever reason, is in that second Ferrari car. So once that is sorted out, we can probably head onto the start of the session fairly soon. Robin also being a reserve as well, replacing Ghost King, and his teammate Juan Elliott, very known already from last season in that Ferrari car there. Next up, we have there we go, as the teams are now being sorted out. One Elliott now steps into that second Ferrari next to Robin. Next, we've got the McLaren, and they are also a returning team. It's the Ace team with Mustache and Grosjean, a very known driver lineup already over the course of CTC. And yeah, they'll be certainly looking to go for a good season for themselves. The Alpine team then are being filled by Juventus Racing, a very exciting and fairly new arrival as well to this esports scene, as JR Slinky will be racing against one of the new arrivals at that team, Sasha F1, previously known, I believe, as iZenox for the Trust Esports team, which have folded, unfortunately, during the past week or two. AlphaTauri, then we have, well, a very big name. You wouldn't expect this name perhaps to be in the second tier, but unfortunately in quali night they could not field a lineup, which is a big, big shame. It is the WR Esports team, World Online Racing. What a big name. And unfortunately only featuring in tier 2. They have got Schumacher 1, of course, former esports challenger, and has actually qualified again this season. Alongside, so far, unfortunately, nobody. It is supposed to be, let me see, it's supposed to be Hersey in that second slot, but it's a shame, really, that they could not make it into the session so far. We are also readying up now, so slightly rushing now through the lineup. Aston Martin being filled with a new arrival, GSP, German sim racing program, being represented by Dadopal and F1 Krishy. Two German drivers, of course. Williams, now correctly filled out with Benelori Brent and Benelori Dennis. Alfa Romeo with the new arrival as well. Mendes and Rodas for the GTZ team. And then unfortunately, the empty Haas that would have been CRD. And it looks like, we are getting racing with just the one WR Esports driver, which is a shame for them to see just the one driver on the grid. But yeah, sometimes it happens. 17 drivers then on the grid tonight. Looks like a dry start to the quali session. Australia, of course, can serve up for a wet session every now and then, as proved by last season. NLR Justin was the man on pole position in a full wet to intermediate qualifying session, edging out, I believe, OP Robbie in second place. The race then went differently. Robbie won. Justin finished in second in a very tantalizing closing lap showdown between the two. Very clean racing offered between the two, so hopefully, we'll see more of this as this session eventually starts, and I can't wait to get this underway, really. So let's see, I don't think we need the tire detail gap, probably fastest lap will stay like this. And now we just wait for the drivers to peel out from the pit lane, get this track crowded, and I mean, every team has paid their entry fee, so we expect some very, very good racing standards due to some cash prize also being on the cards. 35 euros will be going to the winner, to the overall champion of CTC Tier 2, with 25 euros going to the runners-up and 15 going to the third place team at the end of the season. I believe now we've got our first car on the track, and it's the sole AlphaTauri, I believe, of Schumacher 1 heading out first, is it? Yes, it is. That AlphaTauri. It's a shame to see just the one driver, of course, for the team, but unfortunately, sometimes you cannot change these situations. Schumacher 1 proved to be such a quick driver. Now he's a lone ranger, if you will, for this WR Esports team. It's not something you expect, and particularly not in Tier 2. But yeah, it's a shame what we've seen in qualifying night. They could not bring a lineup and therefore are confined to this Tier 2 slot. We would have loved to see them for sure in Tier 1. But now we're going to have to do with Schumacher on this Tier 2 grid. And even still, he's still going to be challenged a lot, is the PSGL F2 driver, who's proved himself to be a very fast driver on pretty much any given circumstance. I would say maybe the timing of drivers going out was perhaps a little bit late, but that could hint at something perhaps coming in the race, though I don't want to speculate on that just yet. Maybe somebody in the comments who's in the lobby could give me some weather update from any team. But now Schumacher 1 gives me a great opportunity to talk about this new revised Australian GP layout as he heads now into the final turn and across the line to start his first lap. 14 corners here at this track. 5 to the left, 9 to the right as he heads into turn 1. It's just a very difficult one to get right there on the exit track limits. He gets it done well. Second DRS zone now already as he plunges down into turn 3, breaking around 100 meters away from the turn. Kisses that apex, maybe missed it ever so slightly. Now into 4, needs to unsettle the car and just hope that it sticks towards the end. Now super difficult flat corner here. And now 6th gear stuff. This is super tight, usually on track limits. He gets down very nicely. And the good sector split time from Schumacher, from the experienced German driver, as he now heads through this flat bit. The chicane was removed, of course, after last season. And therefore now is a very, very fast section of 44.2 in that middle sector. Fast left, swoops into the right, gives us the lot of the track. And I think that was really well executed from Schumacher there. The third DRS zone as well, as he breaks around the 50-meter board, misses the apex slightly again. But I think there's more time to make up on the final part of the lap. Another fast right-hander is now followed up by a slow left, the final left of the circuit. And now the traction is going to have to be crucial. And it's going to have to be really, really good. It touches the curb slightly. Maybe not ideal, the run from Schumacher, but it's certainly a banker lap that he can work with. A 16.9, as I believe the fastest laps will be around this mid to even low 116 range. Next on McLaren crossing the line. That would have been a Mustache, who has perhaps invalidated or just started a lap. Next then we have JR Sasha, who he has invalidated. Then we've got a Williams, Benelori Brent, but that is a slow lap. Yes, a 19.2. That's obviously far off the pace. And then it's only a few out laps still yet to happen. As Ace Mustache is one driver who is currently fast, but it's just invalidated there. That's another issue at Australia. The track limits are so unforgiving on this circuit. And yeah, he has just felt this, unfortunately for him. Slipstream is allowed, by the way, in this session, but I don't see it being used too much at the moment. I believe Rodas is just starting up on a lap here for the GTZ team. New arrivals, Sasha is also on a lap for the Juventus Racing, as he's now into the middle sector, just finishing that off. A 26.6 in Sector 1. Sector 2, let's see how that split's looking. He is faster than Schumacher so far, but can he get this right for the end of the lap? Very quick driver. He's got a lot of potential, particularly in qualifying. He's so quick. And McLaren just crossing the line now, but that is an invalidated lap, it looks like. So let's see, where will Sasha now line his car up on the grid. The second McLaren now crossing the line as well. That will be, I believe, Mustache has also been on an invalidated lap. A Red Bull ahead as well. But both the VRT drivers are on their out laps and now starting their first lap. Sasha crosses the line and, in fact, goes second. 1.5 tenths or so shy of the first place time. Then we've got we've got Dadupad, in fact, crossing the line, going third. And these gaps are only going to get closer, I believe, towards the end of this session. Mendes just starting out on a lap. So does, I believe, Krishy, who looks to have invalidated his first one or his out lap. Poker Rao is just heading through Sector 1. 26.8 is not the fastest he can do, I'm sure of that. So I believe some more improvements coming. GTZ Rodas now going fourth, but it went 118.2. It's not too competitive a time, and I think he can improve probably by quite a lot. Let's see by his ERS if he's going for another. No, he's not. So that will be his first attempt down for the moment. Juventus Racing there. Slinky now going onto the front row himself. Displaces his teammate. And that means Schumacher now behind Slinky. Ahead of Slinky, of course, I should say. And Sasha in P3. It's a stronger start for Juventus Racing, but a lot of laps still yet to be set, as a lot of drivers now peeling into the pit lane. Hoping, of course, they can get a better lap down. Poker Raul is another who's just finishing a lap, but that looked pretty gingerly, pretty careful from the German driver there for VRT. Crosses the line P5 for the moment, but finds himself 6 tenths shy of that top time. GTZ Mendes is one who's also coming across the line. I believe Krishy is actually next. He's got very wide. Indeed, that he does. Looks like Mendes actually is ahead of him, but Krishy into the pit lane. So let's have a look at Mendes now again, crossing the line P6. But yeah, again, these times, as in the background, Max Bauer with the massive slide. Hasn't validated his lap, unfortunately, in the process. We've just caught that in the background. Very, very big heart-in-mouth moment for, I believe, the Austrian driver. He is. And massive moment. One Elliott now crossing line P5, 117.2. But I believe a lot of time is yet to be found for so many of these drivers. Of course, top 10 only setting a lap so far. There are still a lot of drivers who have not set a lap time. and they will also be lighting up this timing sheet eventually. But for the moment, I don't think actually anybody is going quick. Elliott just having finished his lap. Schumacher will be one of the first to be back on an outlap already, so he's very motivated after this provisional pole by, in fact, a bit over a tenth. So very strong opening effort from the man supporting the only WOR kart here today. Indeed a strong driver, of course. We know his quality. But yeah, he's simply just the fact that he's the only one from this team. It's just such a shame, really, for the team that there can't be any more success or any further progress being made due to this sheer lack of driver. We see now, in fact, Juppie on the medium tires. I'm not too sure what that's about. He heads through the middle sector, 45.7. That's simply a lap. Just to get a lap down. Casanova, in fact, as well, is on the mediums. So it's a bit of a team tactic, perhaps, to save a set of softs. And yeah, see really what they're being up to. The session is almost halfway done. Therefore, they will be having to head out fairly soon. Again, on those soft tires. Casanova just heading through this turn 14. A very tricky traction zone. A lot of drivers have been caught out on the exit. Casanova, 19.7. Of course, not very competitive just yet. Juppie as well, just coming across the line now. His teammate, and he's even at 120, so still so much time that is left in these laps. But Schumacher is one who's already on a lap, and he's improving by 1.5 tenths already through the first sector. So a strong lap time, a high 0.4. That is a very strong split. Can he even dip into 43 soon in the middle sector? Perhaps he can. 44.096. Oh, very wide. Just about keeps it within the white lines. And I think that was very, very impressive there from Schumacher. Let's head on board now through this final sector. Oh, he misses the apex, doesn't he? Oh, that will have cost him some time. Will the German driver? He'll be furious. But, of course, he still has that final run left. Turn 13 now. Slow corner. Gets on the curb. No, he aborts that lap and heads into the pit lane. Shame for him to see. It was looking very, very good, but he can't quite finish it off. Can the German driver? Stays on pole, of course, for the moment. But, yeah, he will not be happy with that. Let's have a look who else is currently on the track. I believe everyone is on outlaps at the moment. Ace Mustache is one of them. Ace Grosjean, his teammate, following right behind as well. Yeah, now, of course, the action is going to be very, very quick. F1 Krishy, I think he is on an outlap too, so everyone will now have to keep a very close eye on who's going first and who isn't. As Aston Martin, I believe, in front there, that will be Dadopat, who is on an outlap himself. So I think we might have to look at the Williams here. That will be Benelari Dennis. Indeed, I think it is, as he sets a 26.9 through that first sector. I'm sure he's not too happy with that, as we have seen some much faster times so far. But there is still room for improvement, I'm sure, and he will see that for himself anyways, as the Dutch driver now, Benelux Racing Esports, of course, faming themselves for this kind of Benelux lineup. Oh, that is not the best run. Yeah, he hits through gravel as well. That's not what you want to see, of course, as Benelari Dennis, final sector. This is going to decide still a fair bit of this lap time, but of course it's not going to be troubling those top positions for the Williams man. In fact, they were also racing in the Williams last season, if I'm not completely mistaken. So this is, of course, a nice welcome paint job that they have on this car. Benelari Dennis crossing line 118.2. There's so much time left in here. Ace Grosjean is the next to cross the line. His teammate Mustache is into the pit lane. Grosjean goes P7 with a 17.5. Next up is Rodas. I believe he is finishing a lap as he goes. No, it was an outlap. Thanks again for that game. As we've got a Ferrari very, very close to the back. Is that Robin? Yeah, it's Robin. Right up the back of Benelari Brent. Not too sure if that is intended in any shape or form. Next up, Sasha has not managed to improve on his lap. Slinky just starting out on one. I think he'll be one to watch out for. Pokeral on an outlap. We've got Krishy, I think, finishing one just now. As, yeah, a lot of times will be coming in very soon. And hopefully for the drivers, of course, they will be hailed with some improvements. But yeah, keeping an eye on this. My goodness, this is always great to see just from the solo commentator. I think this could be a little slipstream, perhaps a little tactic there going on for the One Esports team. Yes, it is. One Robin there towing his teammate, One Elliott, as he's currently sitting in P5. but that can definitely now get improved by a fair bit. Unfortunately, not the best first sector it was, but a purple middle sector it's been for One Elliott, so that slipstream has helped out a lot for the Frenchman. Of course, he is also eyeing a switch to PC fairly soon, but now he's still in action for One Esports here on the PlayStation platform now through the final sector. How much time has he got left in him? He's currently about 3 or so tenths shy of Schumacher, who's actually on the track already, I've just seen. So let's have a look. One Elliott through this final corner. Oh, that's wide. That is invalidated. That is such a shame. One Elliott, that is at 173. He's not improving even. That is that is sad to see. JR Sasha going just under 200 behind Schumacher 1 on current provisional pole. We've got a Red Bull crossing line 2. That is Pokerau. I believe he must have failed on that lap in some way. As Slinky, I think, is the next across the line. No, he's into the pit lane. So a lot of drivers still making mistakes. There's not much at all to see so far in this session with not much time to go. Just 5 minutes left and 4 drivers still without a time on the board and multiple, I'd say, also without a competitive one. Schumacher 1 again into the pit lane. So he'll be having to go on a final run. He's just 200 clear now of his nearest competitor, of Sasha for Juventus Racing. This will be tight. This will be very tight. Has he run out of fuel, actually? Looks like he has. As quickly turning on telemetry, he is flat on the power. Yes, he has run out of fuel. So he is just going to have to coast home with that Alpine car. And yeah, just get this home as quickly as he can. Max power, is that an out lap? I would like to say that this is a hot lap, actually, from the Austrian driver. So let's have a look at his first sector split. But it takes a bit too much maybe of that inside curve. Is that an... actually looks like, he's backed off. So perhaps has finished a lap, which was not the best, but it still puts him in the top 5. And those gaps are still looking pretty big, I would say. And Mercedes also now coming around the final corner. Chupi, I think, is starting a lap. Casanova is one who is on a fast lap, as this only hot lap so far has come on the medium tires. So definitely purely from the tires themselves, there's going to be a big gain coming for the Mercedes. Man, VRA, one of the new arrivals, the French team, are looking to put the names up here, as this is a good run through the final corner. In fact, from the Frenchman Casanova towards the line, and he goes up to P12 only. I think these drivers are pretty disappointed overall with their quality performances. To see now Chupi, he's half a second up on his first sector. I mean, that's a great job. 27-2 though, it's not looking all too competitive, is it, for the Frenchman there in that second Mercedes? Anybody else right now? I think Ace Mustache might just be finishing a lap here. 44.7 through the middle sector. No, that's an out lap, as again the game fails to tell me properly there. But now Chupi 45.0. We've seen Schumacher, who can definitely trouble the 43s even in this session. So VRA not looking very, very strong in this session so far. But Chupi is actually a very late reserve for VRA. Goes wide over the turn 12 exit curve. He heads back into the pit lane, but I think he might just be short on time for an extra lap. But now, 2.5 minutes left. The final runs are going to be starting to come in. And I'm going to have a big, big look at the order so far. Still 3 drivers without a lap. I would almost say also 1 driver without a proper competitive lap time there in with VRA Chupi. And he will not be adding a competitive lap to that, unfortunately, either. Dan in the chat there. Good luck to all teams. Mr. Alex the G, thank you very much, Dan. I hope you enjoy this ride here in the second tier. And now it's going to be crunch time. I mean, everybody heading out on this circuit. And now it's going to get very, very crowded. Robin and Mustache perhaps having a bit of a misunderstanding here. But now Mendes, I think, might be having a tough time with things. He's one of the first to start a fast lap, but still has a lot of traffic to encounter. As here he comes now, out of turn 3. He does manage to get it right. Just slight slipstream perhaps even into turn 3. He needs to get this traction zone very, very right to elevate himself up the order. The Alfa Romeo driver. Let's see now through turn 5. He goes pretty much flat. That's what you have to do. 26.8 first sector. Perhaps not what he's looking for, but still a good improvement for him, which could see him jump a few positions eventually. As the session soon will be drawing to a close. Ferrari, they're getting out of the way. I believe that is One Elliott just getting out of the way there at the top. as 44.5, just a minor improvement. Mendes looks to be troubling perhaps his teammate only, which is a shame to see. He's definitely got more time in him, but it's just not coming together really well for the GTZ driver. Now coming towards the final sector. Slightly wide, I would say, even on the apex of turn 11. But it looks like he can still get something out of this. He's now got a slow Alpha Tauri in front of him. That would be Schumacher. But he is now getting out of the way and he's going fast and starting his final round, the provisional pole sitter. Let's see now. GTZ Mendes, how much time has he gained in the final sector? It's only a tenth and a bit, but that puts him up. Oh, as he spins. I don't know if that was too intended from him. Now, this is going to be very interesting as I have pretty much lost it already. Max Power is the next. I think he's starting up a McLaren there as well. Ace Mustache, one of the few drivers without a lap so far. 18.0 is the only lap he can manage. Robin goes up to P8 with a 17.5, and Alpine is next across the line. Slinky goes top, 16.841, and that is just over a tenth clear of Schumacher so far. Next up is an Aston Martin. I believe that is Christie, who is just starting out on a lap. Sasha, in fact, his teammate as well. It's a 1-2 for Juventus Racing so far, and by a margin, 16.671. That is super impressive. Now let's have a look. Benari Brent is one of the next across the line. I think Dennis is done there. He's got a Red Bull, in fact, in front of him as well. That would be Pokerau next across the line, but he's done. P7, no more than that for him. A Mercedes is next, but yeah, both of them will not be able to finish a lap. Mustache is not the it's Ace Grosjean here. Grosjean is the next across the line, currently in P9, improving by about a tenth. How much more can he drag out of the final sector? Grosjean goes to P5, strong 3.5 tenth improvement. Daddlepad next, very strong Crowley driver usually. How much more has he got in? But he's invalidated. That is a shame. Stays in P4 for the moment. One Elliott, one of the fastest as well in qualifying. Elliott can only manage 5th at the moment. Max Power also improving slightly, puts himself ahead of Ace Grosjean and into P6 for Red Bull. Next up, GZ Rodas into pits. So will be Mendes very soon. And I think that might be curtains for qualifying. Yes, it is, as Christie cannot improve on any lap. Juventus Racing 1-2 for this first race of the season. Schumacher looks like he has not managed to improve on his banker anymore. It still puts him in P3. So solid starting position, but Juventus Racing starting this season very much on the right foot. What a performance. Sasha on pole, Slinky in second. And yeah, this start could not have gone all that much better for Juventus Racing. Schumacher will be lining up third with a all-German front row. In fact, Daddlepad in fourth as well for GSP. One Elliott in P5 alongside Max Power for the VRT team. Then we've got Ace Grosjean for, of course, the Ace Esports team alongside the other VRT driver of Pokerau. And the rest of the grid will be running through that very, very shortly. What a qualifying session it's been. And now we are, of course, peaking slightly in viewership. Maybe that's going to go up a little bit as the race goes on. But here we've got the grid. Sasha and Slinky locking out the front row for Juventus Racing. Schumacher and Daddlepad for WR and GSP. One Elliott and Max Power will be sharing the third row of the grid with Grosjean and Pokerau for Ace and VRT behind them. Robin and Mendes round out the top 10 for One Esports and GTZ. His teammate, in fact, Rodas, right behind as well, with Mustache lining up alongside on the 6th row of the grid. Brent and Casanova for Benelari and VRA, 13th and 14th, 7th row of the grid. Benelari Dennis is lining up alongside VRA Chupi on the 8th row of the grid, and F1 Krishy, the only driver to not set a lap time in this session, is last, 17th for GSP. And yeah, a session of mixed feelings really for the German team.